Let's move on to a stock available to investors here in Johannesburg, and that's Anheuser Busch Inbev. It's only been available for a couple of weeks, but it's the world's largest brewing company and about to get much larger, because remember, it is Budweiser, it's Inbev. It's headquartered notionally in Belgium, and it's got this portfolio of existing beers, of which, of course, Budweiser, Antarctica, Brahma out of Brazil, which is where its roots were. But the really exciting thing, Stella Artois, I forgot to mention that, Beck's. The really exciting thing, of course, is that it's in the process of acquiring SAB Miller. It'll offload certain assets, and at that point, it's going to expand its market cap by probably another, I don't know, $70 billion. It currently weighs in at $187.7 billion. Price earnings ratio 21.36, dividend yield of 2.96. So you can buy this one now, and I've been telling people buy it now, and then you'll wait for the SABs to kind of come in and go through, right?
Yep. And once it acquires SAB, as you rightly say, it'll be bigger than Nestle in terms of its market cap. It's going to be a huge, huge company. Going through the process, as we say, of divesting itself of certain brands. It's got rid of the Miller brand in the US.
They're not losing anything you're sad to see go?
No, look, I mean, Miller's was a good operation, but that has to go in terms of regulations.
Because they can't own Budweiser and Miller as well.
Exactly.
That's the point, right?
And in Europe, where we saw last week, we saw the sell-off of Grolsch and Peroni to Asahi of Japan. So no real competition as far as Anheuser Busch is concerned. And it'll be interesting to see what happens in South Africa specifically with the affluction of time. Once SAB Miller is taken out, probably in the second half of this year, we're probably going to start seeing some of those well-known brands that you mentioned, things like Stella, Beck's, being manufactured, being brewed locally in South Africa,
more here.
and hopefully into the rest of Africa as well.
Yeah. Look, I was in Brazil over December, and I can tell you, I'm not surprised that the Brazilians lead the world in terms of beer, because there were people literally all over the streets drinking beer. Look, it was New Year and Christmas, but I've never seen such consumption, and everybody seemed to be perfectly sober out of it as well. So that is an incredibly dynamic team at 3G Capital, George Lehmann and so on, that are behind Carlos Brito. I think they're going to do a great job. They're going to take the best of SAB Miller. There isn't all that much overlap. I've only got one question, and that is about China, because they own Harbin and SAB Miller owns Snow. Do you think they're going to be able to keep both?
Do you know, from what I've seen, it looks as if the Chinese authorities are quite happy to have a company with this kind of almost a duopoly type of thing. So putting them together, it'll be huge.
Because most Chinese people drink like astonishingly horrendous, like hardcore liquor that isn't in. I mean, these premium brands is a small part of the market. There's still more scope, right?
Yeah. Look, if you go to China, which I did with the SAB Miller some years ago, you go in there and you look at the kind of beers that they drink there. They're very insipid beers, very much like what the Americans mainstream beer is like. So Budweiser Wuhan, they actually produce that in Wuhan in China, one of the big cities there. And so there's already a taste for Budweiser, and it's not too dissimilar to what the Chinese like already. So I think that'll go down well, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Chinese authorities let them keep Snow. But it's all down to negotiation. We have to wait and see what actually happens there.
Timing-wise, we'll just have to wait and see. But what I've been telling people is lock in your SAB Miller gains now. I suppose if you had a long-standing SAB Miller position, you might want to wait until after the 1st of March so that your capital gain is only incurred in the next year. But as far as it goes, that's all technical type stuff. Hot on AB InBev?
Very hot in this company. It isn't going to shoot the lights out in the short term, but in the longer term, I think people will be well rewarded.
You're right, because we've got a lot of debt to kind of sort out as a gargantuan raise in order to pay for this thing. But yes, good, hot too.